Hello and welcome to this short video on sculpture. Sculpture is an art form that relates directly to the sense of touch, the sense of depth and density. For example, Jean Arp's Growth from 1938, even though we can't touch it directly, lends itself to a sense of substance. To me, growth looks like a bone taking shape from some primordial matter. The inner sense of our bodies is reflected in this sculpture, and that's what's so fascinating about it to me. Take a few moments to consider how the sculpture feels to you. Now let's turn to the various types of sculpture that artists have created. Sunken relief sculpture is made by carving grooves into the surface of a material. The surface plane in sunken relief sculpture is perceptually distinct from the figures carved into it. Low relief sculpture is sculpture that projects out from a surface, but only somewhat. This type of sculpture relies on a contrast with the flat surface and is best viewed from the front. High relief sculpture is sculpture where the surface projections are relatively large, with some figures almost freed from the surface entirely. Finally, sculpture in the round must be viewed from multiple angles to get a full sense of the work. This type of sculpture has the most potential to evoke inner and outer bodily sensations. An objective correlative is an object, representation, or image that evokes in the audience an emotion the artist wishes to express. For example, Rodin's Danaid, sculpted from marble in 1885, shows us one of the exhausted and dispirited daughters of Danaos, forced to endlessly fill barrels with water in punishment for killing her husband on her wedding night, just as her sisters did. What emotion do you think Rodin wishes to express with this sculpture? Now let's turn to contemporary types of sculpture. First, we have the truth to materials movement. This movement stresses respect for the artistic qualities of the materials used in sculpture. One way to do this is for the artist to reveal the woodness of the wood or the stoneness of the stone used to carve a sculpture. For example, Henry Moore's recumbent figure from 1938 is carved of green Horton stone and seems to capture some of the qualities of the stone even though the sculpture depicts a human figure, albeit abstractly. The truth to materials movement has its antagonists, however. Jeff Koons is a good example of this. His balloon dog, Magenta, is a mirror-polished stainless steel sculpture that looks for all the world like a giant balloon animal made by a clown at a birthday party. Truth to materials in this sense of revealing the steelness of the steel doesn't seem to be Koons's concern here. The sculpture is whimsical, though it may help us to see art in new ways. The protest against technology movement features sculptures that decry the artificiality of a technological civilization. For example, Ernest Rova's Wheelman from 1965 implies that humans are becoming part of the machine of modern civilization. By contrast, the Accommodation with Technology movement features sculptures that embrace technological materials and works to illuminate them. For example, David Smith's QBX from 1963 is made of stainless steel that is polished and takes on the colors surrounding it, depending on the time of the day. Machine sculpture is sculpture that examines technology within the arts. A famous example of this type of sculpture is Gene Tingley's Homage to New York, which was made of disused machine parts and a player piano. As the piano played, the parts of the machine began to turn and eventually self-destructed. The full sculpture was only viewable for about 27 minutes in total. Finally, earth sculpture is sculpture where the earth itself is the material that the artist works on. An amazing example of this type of sculpture is Robert Smithson's Spiral Jetty, which extends 1,500 feet into the Great Salt Lake in Utah. Most of the time it is covered by water, but when the water level recedes, it becomes visible again. Well, that's all the time we have for this lecture. Thank you, and see you soon.